Hi, I'm Stacy. Welcome to the kitchen of my old Kentucky home. Today on Bourbon and Biscuits, we're going to be celebrating Bourbon Heritage Month. We're going to have an Italian twist to it just for fun. Let's get started. We're going to be making Bourbon BBQ Meatballs. Here's what we'll need. 1 cup of ketchup, 1/3 cup of Kentucky Bourbon, 1/4 cup of sorghum, 2 tablespoons Dijon mustard, 1 tablespoon apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon Worcestershire sauce, 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, and of course, some meatballs. Now, Bourbon BBQ Meatballs are a really simple recipe. In fact, it can even be made simpler by using frozen meatballs. I took some homemade ones out of the freezer that we're going to use, and then I'm going to show you a bonus recipe in the description that are actually my Italian grandmother's recipe, so we'll make those too. But you can also just use store-bought. The barbecue sauce is just a basic Kentucky barbecue sauce style using tomato based, and we're Kentuckying it up, of course, by 2 things. We're adding Kentucky bourbon and the sorghum. So basically we're just going to, this is one of those dump and cook recipes. We're just going to put all our ingredients in at the same time, and then we're going to take it to the stove, bring it to a quick boil, cook it for about 15 minutes, and then simply pour it over our meatballs. You can do this stovetop if you want and cook them for, at least a half an hour, or you can put them in a slow cooker and leave them on all day and then serve them right out of that slow cooker. I've done them both ways, both are equally good. I should also say we're using that, can never say this word right, Worcestershire sauce. We're using the Bourbon Barrel Foods brand again, so even a little extra added kick of that Kentucky bourbon going into this barbecue sauce. All right, we're just gonna take this to the stove and bring it to a boil. Our sauce had come to a boil, so I simply warmed up these meatballs that I had already made and frozen. And we're just going to stir these in and let them soak up this good tasting sauce for maybe an hour, at least a half an hour. Or like I said, you could put these suckers in a crock pot, put them on low and let them go while you're at work all day, and then serve them right out of the slow cooker. Okay, we're gonna plate these up while Jessica makes us a bourbon cocktail also with an Italian twist.
All right, so today I'm going to be making an Italian Manhattan. We're going to be using Kentucky Bourbon, of course. We're going to be using Punta Mess, which is an Italian vermouth, and it's got kind of a little bit more of a bitter taste that makes the flavor a little bit in between a Rosso vermouth and a Campari liqueur. And then we're going to be sweetening things up with this apricot liqueur as well, topped with a couple dashes of bitters. So we're going to be doing 2 ounces of the bourbon, 3/4 of an ounce of the vermouth, 1/2 an ounce of the apricot, and then just 2 dashes or so of bitters. And then we're gonna stir this all in our mixing glass with ice. This is kind of a liquor-forward cocktail, not a fruity cocktail. You want to get it chilled but not too diluted, so that's kind of a reason we're not doing it in the shaker. And we're just gonna strain that into our coupe glass, and gonna just garnish it with a couple of good bourbon-soaked cherry. All right, there you have it. That is our Italian Manhattan.
So Jessica, did you know that Bourbon Heritage Month has been an official thing declared by the U.S. Senate since 2007?
Yeah, I wasn't sure of the year, but yeah. I know we've been celebrating it for many years.
Right? And usually, you know, on social media, you'll see a lot of Kentucky bourbon brands will do their recipes, and it's often, I feel like, always a cocktail, but often for a dessert. And so I thought it'd be fun to do, if you're gonna have a Bourbon Heritage Month party.
Which you should.
Right? And it's tailgating season, right? That a bourbon-inspired appetizer, like a hearty, might be more fun.
Yeah,
so that's
I love
where
it.
this came from.
Yeah, I love it. It's a little different. If you can have an appetizer with bourbon, then you can definitely incorporate it into every course of your meal.
Right? And then I thought it was really coincidence that given the Italian twist that I gave on it, because my grandmother was Italian on one side, and these are literally the family meatballs that we make for Christmas Eve and for whatever, but with a marinara sauce, that you did an Italian riff on yours too.
Well, and when I was trying to think of cocktails to go with meatballs, which I've never really thought of before, in this kind of appetizer one, I was thinking about how some people put like the fruit jelly or jams in their recipes, and I knew that apricot or grape was kind of a common one, so I wanted to do a little bit of a play on that in case you were doing that, but then it worked out perfectly with this really interesting Italian vermouth too.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Well, what also would make sense is if every month were Bourbon Heritage Month.
Absolutely. I'll cheers to that. We'll see you next time on Bourbon
And Biscuits.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud.
Salud.